Welcome back, dear viewers, to the latest installment of our series, The Cult of Trump. In this chapter, we delve into a pivotal period that marked the dramatic shift in the political trajectory of the 45th President of the United States. With a blend of fervent loyalty and intense polarization, Donald Trump's journey from his presidency to his eventual downfall is a tale that continues to captivate and divide the nation. As we embark on this exploration, let's take a moment to reflect on the journey thus far. Our previous episodes dissected the rise of the Trump phenomenon, the unyielding devotion of his followers, and the controversial policies that defined his tenure. Now, we direct our attention to a series of events that shook the foundations of American democracy and reshaped the landscape of politics. From the seismic aftermath of the 2020 election to the harrowing scenes of the January 6th insurrection, we shall dissect the intricacies that paved the way for Trump's fall from grace. However, our story does not end there. In the wake of his presidency, legal battles and indictments awaited Trump, adding yet another layer of complexity to his legacy. We will unravel these legal entanglements and their consequences, shedding light on the dynamic interplay between power, accountability, and public perception. Join us as we navigate through the turbulent waters of a nation grappling with the aftermath of one of the most unprecedented political careers in modern history. The Cult of Trump, Part 6, Trump's Fall, is a chapter of reckoning, reflection, and a reminder that the echoes of these events continue to reverberate through the fabric of American society. Hey everybody, Ronnie here. So, some folks have gotten a little butt hurt over some of the things that have been said in the videos in this series, and, well, that's awful. Because of the delicate nature of this video, I'm not monetizing it. However, I would like to say this video is sponsored by me. And for those of you that have had your feelings hurt, I have created for you, or just about anybody that wants to support the channel, a t-shirt right here. I'm sorry that the facts hurt your feelings. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Now back to the video. Chapter 1. The 2020 election and election denial. The 2020 presidential election was poised to be a pivotal moment in American history, as the nation grappled with the challenges posed by the COVID-19 pandemic and the subsequent economic downturn. The choice of leadership took on heightened significance. Incumbent President Donald J. Trump faced off against former Vice President Joseph R. Biden Jr. in an election that would ultimately test the resilience of democratic institutions and the power of narrative. The weeks leading up to Election Day were fraught with uncertainty and anticipation. With record-breaking numbers of mail-in and early voting due to the pandemic, the pace of counting ballots in some states was slower than usual. As the results trickled in, it became evident that the race was tightly contested. Then, on November 7, 2020, major news outlets projected Joe Biden as the president-elect after he secured enough electoral votes to claim victory. For many, this was cause for celebration, an end to what had been a deeply divisive and polarizing presidency. However, for Donald Trump and his ardent supporters, this marked the beginning of a prolonged and contentious battle. Within hours of the projection, Trump took to social media and the airwaves, alleging that the election had been marred by widespread voter fraud. Despite the absence of substantial evidence, he asserted that the presidency had been stolen from him. This narrative of election fraud was not new. It had been part of Trump's rhetoric even before the first ballot was cast. Throughout his presidency, he had laid the groundwork by consistently casting doubt on the integrity of the electoral process. He attacked mail-in voting, spread conspiracy theories about foreign interference, and undermined confidence in the very institutions that were responsible for conducting the election. As Trump's legal team mounted challenges in key battleground states, the nation watched with a mix of anxiety and disbelief. Countless lawsuits were filed, alleging irregularities and improprieties in the vote counting process. However, court after court dismissed these claims, often due to a lack of substantial evidence. Even judges appointed by Trump himself ruled against his legal efforts, underscoring the robustness of the American judicial system. Despite these setbacks, Trump's rhetoric grew more strident. He and his legal team held press conferences that were marked by sensational claims and grandiose promises of evidence that would supposedly vindicate his allegations. As the days turned into weeks, the tension escalated, and the chasm between Trump's reality and the actual facts widened. Perhaps one of the most significant developments during this period was Trump's reliance on social media. Twitter, in particular, served as his megaphone to the world, allowing him to reach millions of followers with just a few taps on his phone. His tweets ranged from accusations of widespread fraud to calls for his supporters to rally against the supposed injustice. The echo chambers of social media platforms exacerbated the polarization. Trump's supporters found themselves immersed in a digital ecosystem that validated their suspicions and mistrust of the mainstream media. Conspiracy theories and unfounded claims circulated unchecked, creating an alternate reality where the election had indeed been stolen. Meanwhile, those who rejected Trump's claims were equally entrenched in their own echo chambers, viewing his allegations as dangerous and baseless. The culmination of this election denial narrative was the joint session of Congress on January 6, 2021, convened to certify the Electoral College results. Trump, still unwilling to concede, addressed a crowd of his supporters gathered in Washington, D.C. in a speech that was equal parts combative and inflammatory. He urged his followers to fight like hell and march to the Capitol to take back our country. The events that unfolded that day were unprecedented in modern American history. Thousands of Trump supporters descended upon the U.S. Capitol, breached its security, and engaged in violent clashes with law enforcement. The scenes of chaos and insurrection were broadcast to the world, leaving many shocked and horrified. In the wake of the attack, Congress reconvened, and amidst the debris and damage, certified Joe Biden's victory. The aftermath of the insurrection marked a turning point in Trump's presidency and the broader political landscape. Calls for accountability grew louder, with many holding Trump responsible for inciting the violence through his rhetoric. Social media platforms took the extraordinary step of suspending or banning his accounts, citing the risk of further violence. As the dust settled, it became clear that the election denial narrative had lasting implications. The foundation of trust in democratic institutions had been shaken, and the nation was left grappling with the challenge of how to bridge the deep divides that had been exposed. The big lie, though debunked and discredited by numerous courts, officials, and experts, continued to persist in the minds of a significant portion of Trump's base. In conclusion, the 2020 election and subsequent election denial saga were pivotal moments in the Trump presidency, encapsulating the themes of polarization, misinformation, and the fragility of democratic norms. The assertion of the stolen election narrative laid bare the power of narrative in shaping public perception and fueling division. The events of this period reverberate to this day, underscoring the complexities of truth, belief, and accountability in the modern political landscape. Chapter 2: The January 6, 2021 Insurrection. As the dawn of 2021 broke, the United States stood at a precipice, teetering between democratic norms and the disruptive forces of a deeply polarized society. The events that unfolded on January 6, 2021 would not only reverberate through the hallowed halls of the U.S. Capitol, but would also leave an indelible mark on the fabric of American history. The lead-up, a gathering storm. In the days leading up to January 6th, the nation's capital buzzed with anticipation and tension. President Trump had called for a Save America rally, inviting his supporters to gather in Washington, D.C. The pretext was the certification of the Electoral College results, the final step in confirming Joe Biden's victory. What was meant to be a routine procedure, an affirmation of the democratic process, quickly morphed into a rallying cry for those who believed in Trump's claims of election fraud. Trump's rhetoric was carefully calibrated to incite fervor. He continued to repeat his unsubstantiated claims, fueling the notion that the election had been stolen. His followers saw themselves as patriots answering a call to defend their country from a supposed usurper. The groundwork had been laid for an event that would challenge the very institutions that upheld American democracy. The siege of the Capitol, chaos unleashed. January 6th arrived, and a sea of Trump supporters descended upon the National Mall. The atmosphere was charged with anticipation, but what transpired would leave the nation and the world in shock. As President Trump addressed the crowd, he reiterated his claims of election fraud and called for his supporters to march to the Capitol to stop the steal. The images that unfolded over the next few hours were both surreal and alarming. A mob of individuals, many brandishing Trump paraphernalia and Confederate flags, breached the Capitol's security barriers. They clashed with law enforcement officers, vandalized offices, and occupied the Senate chamber. The elected representatives of the people were forced to evacuate, sheltering in undisclosed locations. In a tragic turn of events, the insurrection resulted in multiple deaths, injuries, and extensive property damage. The world watched in disbelief as a cornerstone of American democracy was under siege. The very symbol of the nation's governance and the peaceful transfer of power had been violated. The fallout, reckoning, and repercussions. The immediate aftermath of the insurrection was marked by condemnation from leaders on both sides of the aisle. Many pointed fingers directly at President Trump, accusing him of inciting the violence through his fiery rhetoric. Calls for accountability grew louder, with discussions about impeachment and invoking the 25th Amendment gaining traction. In an unprecedented move, social media platforms banned or suspended Trump's accounts, citing the risk of further violence. This raised questions about the role of these platforms in moderating political discourse and the tension between free speech and the potential for harm. On January 13th, the House of Representatives voted to impeach President Trump for a second time, charging him with incitement of insurrection. This marked a historic moment, as Trump became the first U.S. president to be impeached twice. The subsequent Senate trial further exposed the deep divisions within the Republican Party, as some members supported conviction, while others defended Trump's actions. The impact: a nation divided. The events of January 6th sent shockwaves through the nation, revealing the fragility of democratic norms and the potential consequences of unchecked political rhetoric. The insurrection laid bare the stark contrast between those who saw it as an attack on democracy and those who believed they were standing up against a rigged system. The incident exposed the depth of polarization and the alternate realities that had taken root in American society. The insurrection also had international repercussions, as the U.S. had long been seen as a beacon of democratic stability. The scenes of chaos were met with a mixture of concern, condemnation, and bewilderment from allies and adversaries alike. Questions were raised about the health of American democracy and the implications for global political dynamics. Conclusion: lessons learned. As we reflect on the events of January 6, 2021, we are confronted with a complex tapestry of factors that led to that fateful day. From the power of misinformation and the echo chambers of social media to the consequences of leaders exploiting divisions for personal gain, the insurrection was a culmination of multiple forces at play. The January 6th insurrection was a stark reminder that the health of a democracy is not guaranteed, and the institutions that uphold it must be safeguarded. It underscored the importance of responsible leadership, the critical role of accurate information, and the imperative of fostering a sense of national unity despite differences. The story of the cult of Trump continues, marked by moments of reckoning that compel us to confront the challenges and opportunities that lie ahead. Chapter 3: Impeachments of Donald Trump. The saga of Donald Trump's presidency is intertwined with a series of unprecedented political showdowns that unfolded on the floors of the United States Congress. Impeachment, the constitutional process designed to hold presidents accountable for high crimes and misdemeanors, became a focal point of the battle between Trump's supporters and his critics. In this segment, we delve into the two impeachment trials that marked critical junctures in Trump's presidency and the broader trajectory of American politics. Impeachment 1. The Ukraine controversy. The first impeachment of Donald Trump revolved around his interactions with Ukraine and allegations of abuse of power. In 2019, a whistleblower complaint surfaced, alleging that Trump had pressured Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky to investigate Joe Biden and his son Hunter Biden. It was further claimed that Trump had withheld military aid to Ukraine as leverage. The House of Representatives launched an impeachment inquiry, resulting in 2 articles of impeachment: abuse of power and obstruction of Congress. The inquiry laid bare a striking divide between Democrats, who argued that Trump had compromised national security for personal gain, and Republicans, who largely framed the process as a partisan attack. The subsequent impeachment trial in the Senate culminated in Trump's acquittal. The Republican-controlled Senate voted to acquit Trump on both charges, with only one Republican, Mitt Romney, breaking ranks to vote for conviction on the abuse of power charge. The trial underscored the stark polarization within Congress and the broader public discourse, interim, political landscape, and polarization. The period between Trump's first and second impeachment saw the nation grappling with the COVID-19 pandemic, economic challenges, and racial justice protests. Trump's handling of these crises further fueled division, with his responses often polarizing public opinion. As the 2020 election neared, the political landscape remained deeply fragmented, setting the stage for another impeachment battle. Impeachment 2: Incitement of Insurrection. The events of January 6, 2021 would cast a long shadow over Donald Trump's presidency. In the aftermath of the insurrection, the House of Representatives swiftly moved to impeach Trump for a second time, charging him with incitement of insurrection. The articles of impeachment accused Trump of having incited the violence through his repeated false claims about election fraud and his rhetoric on the day of the Capitol attack. The House proceedings were marked by impassioned speeches on both sides, as lawmakers grappled with the question of whether Trump's actions warranted his removal from office, even though his term was set to end in a matter of days. The vote in the House largely followed party lines, with 10 Republicans joining Democrats in voting for impeachment. The subsequent Senate trial occurred after Trump had left office. The trial showcased the complexities of balancing the desire for accountability with the constitutional limitations on the impeachment power once a president had departed from office. The Senate ultimately voted to acquit Trump once again, with 7 Republican senators joining Democrats in voting for conviction, falling short of the 2/3 majority required for conviction. Impact and reflections. The 2 impeachment trials of Donald Trump had far-reaching implications. They laid bare the extent of polarization within Congress and the American public, with party loyalty often outweighing considerations of evidence and constitutional duty. The impeachment process also highlighted the challenges of reconciling accountability with the preservation of democratic norms, especially when dealing with a president's actions in his final days in office. The events of the impeachment trials contributed to shaping the legacy of the Trump presidency. For his supporters, the trials were seen as attempts by political opponents to delegitimize a presidency they believed had been transformative. For his critics, the trials represented a necessary effort to hold a president accountable for actions they saw as undermining democratic institutions and norms. Conclusion: divisions in democracy. The impeachment trials of Donald Trump underscored the complexity of American democracy, the power of partisan divisions, and the challenges of preserving accountability within a deeply polarized landscape. The process revealed the limitations of impeachment as a tool for removing a president and addressing grievances, as well as the profound role that political narratives play in shaping public perception. As we move forward in our exploration of Trump's fall, we must grapple with the broader implications of these impeachment battles. How did they contribute to shaping the trajectory of American politics? What did they reveal about the state of democratic institutions? Chapter 4: 4 Indictments of Donald Trump. As former President Donald Trump pushes forward with his 2024 campaign, he finds himself ensnared in a web of legal challenges that span incidents before, during, and after his term in office. These incidents are now under intense legal scrutiny, with 4 separate criminal cases hanging over him. Led by state prosecutors and a federal special counsel, these investigations mark a remarkable chapter in American legal and political history. Indicted: Manhattan Hush Money Probe. A historic moment in American legal history occurred on March 30th, when a New York grand jury investigating the hush money payment to adult film star Stormy Daniels in 2016 voted to indict Donald Trump. This made him the first former president in U.S. history to face criminal charges. The indictment charged him with 34 counts of falsifying business records in the first degree. The case revolves around a payment of $130,000 made to Stormy Daniels just days before Trump was elected president in 2016. This payment was arranged by Trump's former attorney, Michael Cohen, in exchange for Daniels' silence about an alleged affair. Prosecutors have been investigating potential falsification of business records related to reimbursements made to Cohen. Trump has vehemently denied any wrongdoing, including allegations of the affair. In the months leading up to the grand jury decision, a parade of former Trump employees and White House staffers were seen entering the office of Manhattan District Attorney Alvin Bragg. This included high-profile figures such as Kellyanne Conway, Hope Hicks, and Michael Cohen. Cohen, who went to federal prison for charges related to the $130,000 payment, met repeatedly with prosecutors, including 2 appearances before the grand jury. Trump's defense has centered on claims of political persecution, arguing that the charges are motivated by political bias. He attempted to have the case moved from state to federal jurisdiction, accusing the district attorney of being disfavorable towards him. U.S. District Judge Alvin Hellerstein ruled against this effort, stating that Trump had not demonstrated that the indictment lacked a rational basis. The case is scheduled to go on trial in March 2024, making it a pivotal moment in Trump's post-presidential legal battles. Indicted, Special Counsel's documents case. In an unprecedented turn of events, Donald Trump became the first former president charged with federal crimes. On June 8th, he was indicted on 37 felony counts related to the alleged willful retention of national security information after leaving the White House. Trump pleaded not guilty to these charges. The indictment, brought by Special Counsel Jack Smith, accuses Trump of storing classified documents in various locations at his private Palm Beach, Florida, country club. These locations included a ballroom, a bathroom, an office space, his bedroom, and a storage room. The indictment also alleges conspiracy to obstruct justice, corruptly concealing documents, a scheme to conceal, and making false statements and representations. Trump's defense has centered on his handling of classified information and his accusations of political bias against the special counsel. He has labeled Smith a radical and accused him of pursuing the case for political reasons. The trial is scheduled for May 2024, positioning it toward the end of the Republican presidential primary season, adding another layer of complexity to the legal drama. Indicted, Special Counsel's January 6th investigation. The events of January 6, 2021, marked a dark day in American history, the storming of the U.S. Capitol. As part of the investigation into efforts to interfere with the peaceful transfer of power after Trump's loss in the 2020 election, a grand jury indicted Trump on August 1st. This indictment brought 4 charges against him: conspiracy to defraud the United States, conspiracy to obstruct an official proceeding, obstruction of an official proceeding, and conspiracy against rights. The indictment lists 6 unnamed co-conspirators who allegedly assisted Trump in his efforts to overturn the election and retain power. The attack on the Capitol, as described in the indictment, was fueled by lies perpetrated by Trump himself. In response, Trump has vehemently denied allegations of wrongdoing, asserting that the case is politically motivated. He questioned why the case wasn't brought sooner, implying that it was strategically timed to coincide with his campaign. The case has become another flashpoint in the ongoing legal battles surrounding his post-presidential life. Indicted, election interference case in Fulton County, Georgia. The aftermath of the 2020 election saw a legal saga unfold in Fulton County, Georgia. Beginning with an investigation into Trump's conduct following the election, the probe grew in size and scope. The culmination of these efforts led to the indictment of Trump and 18 allies on charges of election fraud, racketeering, and other counts related to alleged efforts to overturn the 2020 election. The indictment outlines various alleged schemes employed by Trump and his co-defendants to reverse his electoral loss. These include making false statements to state legislatures and officials, creating fake electoral college documents, recruiting supporters to cast false votes, harassing election workers, and soliciting senior Justice Department officials and Vice President Mike Pence. The use of Georgia's racketeer-influenced and Corrupt Organizations Act adds another layer of complexity to the indictment. Trump and his co-defendants face a litany of charges, including allegations of stealing data, making false statements, and obstructing the election process. Trump's defense has centered on criticizing the investigation itself, alleging bias and flaws in the grand jury presentation. Attorneys for Trump maintain that the indictment is unconstitutional and flawed, echoing his broader claims of a political witch hunt. As the legal proceedings continue to unfold, they underscore the unprecedented nature of Trump's legal battles and the intersection of presidential power, accountability, and the judicial system. Conclusion: the legal nexus of Trump's fall. The 4 indictments of Donald Trump paint a vivid picture of the legal challenges he faces in his pursuit of political revival. These cases span from allegations of business record falsification to the handling of classified information, from efforts to overturn election results to charges of election interference. As the legal system grapples with the consequences of his actions, the outcomes of these trials will undoubtedly have lasting implications for the future of American democracy, the rule of law, and the power dynamics that shape political discourse. The legal saga that has unfolded since Trump's departure from the presidency showcases the intricate balance between legal proceedings and political forces. While the outcomes of these cases remain uncertain, one thing is clear: the legal nexus of Trump's fall continues to capture the attention of the nation and the world. As the trials unfold, they serve as a testament to the complexities of accountability, justice, and the resilience of democratic institutions in the face of unprecedented challenges. Chapter 5: The Enduring Legacy. As we approach the final chapter of our exploration into the cult of Trump and its consequential fall, it's essential to reflect on the enduring legacy left by Donald Trump's presidency and the tumultuous events that followed. The impact of his time in office and the subsequent legal battles will reverberate through American history, shaping the political landscape and public discourse for years to come. Polarization and divisions. One of the most profound legacies of the Trump era is the deepening polarization and divisions within American society. The fervent loyalty and unwavering support Trump commanded from his base highlighted the extent to which identity and ideology had become intertwined. The political discourse grew increasingly hostile, with us versus them narratives taking precedence over nuanced policy discussions. This polarization extended beyond the political realm, seeping into social circles, families, and communities. The events of January 6, 2021 underscored the dangers of this division, as the assault on the U.S. Capitol laid bare the consequences of unchecked rhetoric and the erosion of shared truths. The images of violence and insurrection shocked the world and prompted a national reckoning about the fragility of democratic norms and the imperative of safeguarding the peaceful transfer of power, legal precedents, and accountability. The legal challenges that have followed Trump's presidency have set significant precedents that will shape future interactions between the executive branch, the judicial system, and the rule of law. The indictments of a former president on multiple fronts signal that no individual, regardless of their position, is above the law. These trials emphasize the importance of accountability and the role of the judicial system in upholding democratic values. The outcomes of these trials will impact the perception of justice and accountability in American society. They will also influence the willingness of future leaders to push the boundaries of legality in the pursuit of political objectives. The interplay between legal proceedings and political consequences will be a key topic of discussion for legal scholars, historians, and political analysts alike. Legacy of disinformation and media. The proliferation of disinformation and the erosion of trust in media during the Trump era have lasting implications for the information landscape. The term fake news became a weaponized phrase used to discredit credible journalism and sow doubt in the minds of the public. The rise of social media as a platform for the dissemination of information further complicated the landscape, allowing misinformation to spread rapidly and widely. The consequences of this legacy are far-reaching. They highlight the need for media literacy education, critical thinking, and fact-checking as essential tools for navigating the complex and often murky world of information. The struggle to rebuild trust in institutions of information dissemination will remain an ongoing challenge. Lessons learned and looking forward. The fall of the cult of Trump offers a myriad of lessons for the nation. It underscores the importance of safeguarding democratic norms, the fragility of institutions, and the role of responsible leadership in shaping the course of a nation. It reminds us of the power of political narratives, the consequences of unchecked power, and the imperative of holding leaders accountable for their actions. As we conclude this journey through the rise and fall of the cult of Trump, we must also look forward. The future of American democracy will be shaped by how society grapples with the lessons learned from this era. The decisions made, the conversations had, and the commitment to unity and truth will determine the trajectory of the nation as it continues to strive toward a more perfect union. The legacy of the cult of Trump is not confined to the pages of history. It lives on in the collective memory of a nation and in the ongoing conversations about the nature of power, democracy, and the responsibilities of leaders and citizens alike. As we step away from this examination, may we carry these lessons with us, and may they guide us as we navigate the complexities of a changing world. Conclusion: unraveling the cult of Trump. The rise and fall of the cult of Trump is a narrative that has captivated the world's attention, serving as a powerful case study in the dynamics of modern politics, leadership, and society. From the earliest days of his unconventional campaign to the seismic events that unfolded during his presidency, and the legal battles that followed, the Trump era has left an indelible mark on American history and the global stage. The allure of Trump's leadership lay in his ability to tap into the frustrations and aspirations of a significant portion of the American population. His unfiltered communication style, unapologetic disregard for political norms, and promise to disrupt the status quo resonated deeply with those who felt disenfranchised by the existing order. This loyalty transformed into a fervent devotion, creating a phenomenon that transcended traditional political alliances. Yet, as the presidency unfolded, the dynamics of the cult of Trump revealed a darker side. The manipulation of information, the erosion of trust in institutions, and the polarization of society all cast a shadow over the promise of change. The events of January 6, 2021 stand as a stark reminder of the consequences of unchecked rhetoric and the importance of preserving democratic norms. The legal challenges that followed Trump's presidency further exposed the complex intersection of power, accountability, and the rule of law. The indictments and investigations showcase the delicate balance between political considerations and the pursuit of justice. These trials will undoubtedly shape the legal and political landscape for years to come, influencing discussions about presidential power, accountability, and the role of the judiciary. As we navigate the legacy of the cult of Trump, we must reflect on the lessons learned, the fragility of democracy, and the importance of responsible leadership in maintaining its foundations have been underscored. The power of misinformation and the challenges of media literacy have become undeniable realities. The division and polarization that emerged remind us of the need to bridge gaps and seek common ground, even in the face of deep ideological differences. Ultimately, the story of the cult of Trump is one that reflects the complexities of human behavior, the dynamics of power, and the ever-evolving nature of political narratives. It is a story that has yet to reach its final chapter, as the influence of these events continues to shape the trajectory of American politics and the global discourse. As we close this chapter of analysis, we are reminded that the legacy of the cult of Trump is not confined to the persona of a single individual. It lives on in the collective memory of a nation, in the ongoing conversations about democracy's challenges and promises, and in the enduring pursuit of a more just, accountable, and united society. The lessons of this era will guide us as we navigate the complexities of the future with a renewed commitment to the values that define us as a people and a nation.